John 3 verse 16, "For God so loved the world, that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life." Enjoy the show.
Zorya sits at the table, the big book in front of him. Looking into the camera, he addresses the viewing audience.
They are proposed, read, voted on, amended, vetoed, signed if approved. Human beings challenge, abide, and sometimes break them. Oftentimes, they are considered to be impartial. Indeed, every country is governed by man-made laws, which begs the question: why do so many people break the law? There's nothing more important to Constable Jay Steller than upholding the law. Jay's about to cross paths with a different kind of law. Law with the power to change his life forever. I await Jay's arrival, here, at the King's Dome.
We are in one of the toughest cities in the United States of America. If you don't know the 18th Street Gang, stay the hell out. Broken down houses aline the street. Nobody's here. 3 blocks away, you will find the neighborhood kids are at the house party. This might be implied by loud rap music heard in the distance. A patrol car approaches and pulls up to the curb. The assignment: Constable Jay Steller, a proud all-American cop of 40, sits behind the wheel. Caucasian. Weight-height proportionate. Crew cut. Clean-shaven. Despite his polished appearance, there's an odor of danger about him. His partner, Constable Jezebel, sits in the passenger seat. They are eating donuts.
How you like the night shift?
If Johnston sticks me with the night shift one more time, I'm going to tear my hair out and send him the invoice for an implant. A peal of laughter from Jay. As Jay starts to look around for potential prey, Fernando, 25, a muscular Mexican brother, his silky black hair slinged back into a ponytail, wearing a muscle top and baggy jeans, can be seen pacing up and down in the nearby field like there's something taxing his mind.
Time to have a little fun.
As he tells Jezebel this in reference to Fernando, he grins. Jezebel follows Jay's gaze to Fernando, grinning along with him. They exit the car. Jay and Jezebel walk up to Fernando, who is still pacing up and down in the field, and confront him.
Kind of odd you standing out here in the middle of nowhere.
Fernando responds respectfully, sensing not to play with these cops. They've got that redneck look about them.
How you officers doin'? Me and my girl got into an argument. Didn't want things to escalate, so I left.
Jay takes a good hard look at Fernando, then replies.
Got any ID? Is that necessary, officer? I haven't broken any law. May I?
Jezebel interjects, addressing Fernando harshly. Hard of hearing. Constable, Steller asked you for ID. Fernando calmly takes his ID out of his pants pocket and gives it to Jay without saying another word. Jay then hands the ID to Jezebel with instructions.
Run a thorough check on him. Probably an alien.
Jezebel walks away to go do so.
I ain't no alien, Constable Stellar.
He says this to Jay, looking slightly offended that he would suggest that he's an illegal alien. Jay turns some tough on him.
Shut up. Turn around and put your hands behind your back.
Fernando does so. Jay slaps a pair of cuffs on him.
I haven't done anything wrong. Why you arresting me? Busted a bunch of aliens down the street from here not too long ago. I got papers at home. I can show them to you.
Jezebel approaches. Shaking her head no, she hands the ID to Jay. Fernando's clean. Jay's not convinced. Using his fingertip, he rubs the surface of the ID several times. Seeing this, Fernando spits a laugh. Jay addresses Fernando.
Sure this ID is real? Why you busting my balls, man?
Jay removes the cuffs, hands Fernando his ID, then speaks.
Maybe you should find somewhere else to stand. Free country, right? God bless America.
That was uttered with borderline sarcasm which pisses Jay off. He horks up a gob of spit and let her fly. It strikes Fernando in the eye. Jezebel chuckles underneath her breath. Fernando calmly wipes the spit off his face, and that's when Jay gets right up in his face, his hand inching to his holstered gun.
Got something to say, you little spick?
He pauses and gives Fernando an opportunity to reply, eyeballing him. Despite how difficult it is, Fernando bites his tongue, stays silent, and bravely looks Jay square in the eye. Jay harshly addresses Fernando.
America's the greatest country in the world. You're lucky to be here, punk.
With those final words, Jay and Jezebel walk away. We are at Jay's house. Your typical modern living room, tidy, bright, spacious and modest. Jay's wife Cheryl, 38, a polite and humble lady with long brown hair, weight-height proportionate, sits watching the news on television.
Tens of thousands more illegal aliens have applied for permanent residency in the United States.
Jay walks into the entranceway in crisp blue, suited up for work. Tuning into the news on television, he straightens his tie. Back to the news reporter.
The illegal aliens in question have been gainfully employed in the United States for several years on end.
Hearing that, Jay turns an unfavorable expression. Back to the news reporter.
Children of the illegal aliens were born in the United States. Question: should illegal aliens be given a free pass that will allow them to remain in the United States for the sake of their children? Visit our Facebook page and tell us what you think.
End of the news report. Here's Jay's perspective on illegal aliens in the United States.
Break the law and now they want special treatment. Only in America.
Cheryl replies. Most of them seem to be good, hard-working people.
Break the law once, they'll do it again. Once a criminal, always a criminal.
I say let them stay. Besides, their kids are citizens.
Kids wouldn't be here in the first place if their parents hadn't hopped the fence. Steak for dinner. Don't make me beg. Okay, I'm begging.
Smiling warmly, Cheryl replies. Steak it is.
Smooches.
Smooch is back. Be safe. Jay departs for work. The streets are packed with the harder-looking refugee types. We're in the middle of the boulevard where a bustling black market in clothing and cigarettes is conducted nightly in the harsh glare of barrack neon. Jay and Jezebel walk over to the chromed-out Chevy they've just pulled over. Jay approaches the driver's side window. Jezebel takes a position outside the front passenger side door. A black dude named Dudley, 24, leans back in the driver's seat leering out the window at Jay. He addresses Jay.
Why you pull me over? Tail lights blown. Need your driver's license and registration.
Dudley extends a hand towards the glove department box to retrieve the items. Meanwhile, Jay's gaze shifts to the guy leaned back in the passenger seat bobbing his head to hardcore gangster beats playing on the radio. He's Roberto, 22, Mexican-American, wearing a sparkling diamond earring in his left ear and a Lakers jersey and ball cap, tilted sideways. Jay addresses him.
Got any ID?
Roberto's eyes go to Jay, then withdraw. Bobbing his head to the music, he nonchalantly answers Jay's question.
Nope.
Dudley hands his license and registration to Jay. After which, Jay diverts his attention back to Roberto.
What's your name? Roberto. Roberto what? Roberto Gomez. Where are you from, Roberto?
Still bobbing his head to the music, Roberto snickers, then answers.
What difference does it make? You pulled my boy over for a blown tail light. Plenty aliens around here. How do I know you're not one of them?
Jezebel steps back as though she's threatened, pulls out her Glock 22, .40 caliber handgun, points it at Roberto, and tells him to get out of the car. Get out of the car. Do it now. Roberto's cool. Chuckling, he addresses Dudley.
My lawyer's gonna love this.
Then, he exits the car. That's when Jay approaches the passenger side of the car, grabs Roberto, and forces him against the car. Roberto bucks angrily.
What the hell? I ain't done nothing, man.
Jay keeps him pinned him up against the car and begins to vigorously pat him down.
Where are the drugs? I ain't got no drugs.
People stroll by staring, not too hard though, everyone's doing something illegal in this part of town. Jay removes Roberto's wallet from his pocket, hands it to Jezebel. She walks away to go check him out. Jay pats Roberto down some more and speaks.
Why didn't you fork up your ID when I asked for it? Got something to hide? Whatever, man.
Jay slaps a pair of cuffs on Roberto, then wheels him around for a chat.
How long you been in the States? Born and raised in Albuquerque. Got a problem with that? Born and raised. Want me to say it again? Any warrants? Do your job.
Jezebel's back. Jay looks to her. She shakes her head no. Roberto's clean. Jay addresses Roberto.
Free to go, smart ass. Damn right I'm free to go.
Jay unlocks the cuffs. Roberto addresses Jezebel with an attitude.
My ID, please and thank you.
She extends her hand with his ID. He snatches the ID out of her hand. As Roberto goes to get into the car, a paper bag peeking out from under the passenger seat, catching Jay's attention. Jay addresses Roberto.
Hold up a second.
Roberto is halfway inside the car. He retreats, then speaks.
What now?
Jay reaches underneath the seat and removes the paper bag. He then reaches into the paper bag and removes a sealed pint of whiskey. Snickering, Roberto speaks.
Bottle sealed. Gonna lock me up for that?
Jay stares at Roberto wearing an annoyed expression and speaks.
Know something, Roberto? The only thing I hate more than an illegal alien, is a wise guy.
With those words, Jay twists off the bottle cap and pours some whiskey on the ground. Replacing the cap, he tosses the bottle on the front passenger seat and starts writing a ticket. Dudley stares at Jay with his face screwed up, wondering what in the world is going on.
What's up, officer? Against the law to have an opened bottle of liquor in your possession while inside a motor vehicle. Man, you're trippin'. You opened it? Wrong, Roberto. You opened it? For this reason, rather than the registered owner of the vehicle, I'm giving you the ticket. Don't you think that's the right thing to do, Dudley?
Dudley stares at Jay without saying anything. He most definitely does not want a ticket from Jay. Roberto speaks.
Me and my boy sat here and watched you open the bottle. Burden of proofs on USA.
Jay slaps the ticket down on the front passenger seat, sneers at Roberto and speaks.
Have a nice day, amigo.
Jay walks away. Roberto takes the ticket from the seat and looks to the dollar amount.
Holy crap! 2 bills.
Roberto? Roberto's angry gaze shifts to Jezebel. You're flying low. Her remark was intended to humiliate him more than anything else. After glancing down at his pants and zipping up his fly, he yells angrily at Jezebel and Jay as they make their way back to the patrol car.
I'm not paying for this bitch-ass ticket.
Jay pauses his stride and faces Roberto. Roberto maintains his composure and bluster. He calls out to Jay.
You heard me. I'm standing right here. Do something.
Jay looks around, seeing how much attention has been generated by the traffic stop. Resisting the temptation to confront Roberto, he climbs into the patrol car and leaves. We are at Jay's house. Jay, Cheryl, their son Dustin, 21, a good-looking young man with a little work, and his girlfriend Amanda, 20, gather around the table eating dinner. Cheryl addresses Dustin. How have you been making out on your own?
Not as easy as I thought. Pass the salad bowl, please.
Cheryl does so. You're the one who wanted your own apartment, Dustin. What Dustin's about to say next brings a smile to his lips.
Won't be on my own much longer, Mom. Amanda's moving in.
We figure, living together, we could save a little money, pay off tuition early. Cheryl looks concerned. Here's why. The two of you are still very young. Jay addresses Cheryl.
We played house at around the same age.
Cheryl gives Jay a strained look and replies. Playing house got me pregnant at 17. No worries, Mrs. Stellar. We practice safe sex. Cheryl clears her throat, then changes the subject. She's not trying to be rude, she's merely fending off an uncomfortable subject. When exactly do the two of you plan on moving in together? When I get back from Mexico.
Taking a little vacation. Nice.
Visiting family. My parents are Mexican. That causes Jay to choke on his food. Who would have guessed? Amanda's strawberry blonde hair and green eyes would have fooled anybody. Jay sips his water, then gets back to Amanda.
You were saying?
My parents have a beautiful piece of property in Acapulco. Dustin and I have been talking about the possibility of moving out there one day. On to the grand finale.
Mom, Dad. Amanda and I have decided to get married.
Dustin stares at his parents, anticipation increasing his pulse. Jay stares down at the table chewing his food hard and fast. Cheryl masks her shock with a warm smile and offers her congratulations. As long as the two of you are happy, I'm happy.
Thanks, Mom.
Feeling everyone's eyes on him, Jay looks up from the table, a phony smile upon his face. Right then, his cell phone rings. Jay's quickly on his feet, relieved to get the monkey off his back. He picks up his cell sitting on the table next to him, before stepping away from the table. From the dining room entryway, he puts the cell to his ear and takes the call.
Constable Stellar speaking. Slow down, Jezebel. Calm down. I'm on my way.
Placing the cell phone into his pants pocket, Jay steps over to the table and addresses his wife.
Back in a few.
Finish dinner at least.
Police business. It's kind of important.
Jay then addresses Amanda and Dustin in haste.
Congratulations to you both.
Before they can reply, Jay quickly departs. We are at the police station. Station queens of all sorts are here. Jay stands off to the side speaking with Constable Thompson, a young, cocky, good-looking rookie.
I'm chasing this guy down the street. The guy stops, whips out a can of mace. He's pointing the freaking can at me like it's a loaded gun. Soon as I make a move for my piece, the guy maces himself in the face.
Jay laughs. Jezebel comes over. Constable Thompson licks his lips and stares at her like she's a piece of meat. It's no secret that everyone in the precinct wants to screw her. Constable Thompson addresses Jezebel.
Gorgeous plus gorgeous equals us. As in, you and me.
Turning to him, Jezebel replies. Tell me that wasn't a pickup line. Constable Thompson licks his lips again before replying.
What if it was?
It stunk. Jay starts to laugh, but catches himself. Constable Thompson takes the hit well. He addresses Jay.
Catch up later.
And then he addresses Jezebel, smiling from ear to ear.
Stay gorgeous.
He walks away. Jezebel turns and faces Jay for a chat. Roberto Gomez, remember him? He filed a complaint. Claims you harassed and assaulted him. Jay's not half as worried as Jezebel, plainly. He replies.
His word against mine, and yours.
The driver Dudley Jackson signed a sworn statement stating what he witnessed. Doesn't look good, Jay. Jay appears worried all of a sudden. We are at Roberto's apartment. Roberto opens the front door to find Jay and Jezebel standing there, their eyes full of utter retaliation. Near about scares Roberto half to death. He goes to shut the door. Jay shoves his foot through the door's barrier and forces his way into the apartment. He takes Roberto by the throat, whips him several times into the wall, then knees his groin. Oof! Roberto hits the ground whimpering in the fetal position. Jay pulls him from the ground by the collar, throws him against the wall, and crashes an elbow into his neck. Jay voices his frustration to Roberto, his eyes angry as steel.
Filed a complaint against me, you little spick.
He whips out his piece, shoves it in Roberto's neck.
Please don't kill me.
Jay cocks back the hammer. A little motivation from Jezebel. Pop him and let's get the hell out of this shithole. Roberto tenses, closes his eyes, takes his final breath. Jay's definitely going to pop him, in his mind at least. Stepping forward into the corridor like a cautious cat is Roberto's friend Hector, 25, a sizable, greasy-looking Mexican. In his hand, a burrito, partial eaten. Jezebel whips out her piece upon seeing him. Taking aim at Hector, she cautions him. Move and I will blast your monkey ass. Stricken with fear, Hector instantly drops his burrito and throws his palms up with a swift gesture. With his gun still firmly planted in the side of Roberto's neck, Jay threatens him.
You may have been lucky enough to be born in this country. A little birdie told me that your pregnant girlfriend wasn't. Neither is your brother Tito. Screw with me and I will have your girlfriend and brother deported back to the slums of Mexico so fast it'll give you blue balls. Do we have an understanding?
As he speaks, tears stream down Roberto's cheeks from sheer fear.
No problem, man. Just leave my girl and brother alone.
Mission accomplished. Lowering his firearm, Jay and Jezebel depart. A modest, perfectly equipped studio apartment that is well kept and owned by Jay. Jay stands with Michael.
This is it.
Michael takes a look around the apartment then speaks.
How much is rent? $800 a month, on time, all the time. Is rent negotiable? Course not. No pets, no smoking, no drugs, no alcohol. Happen to have any Mexican friends? Why do you ask? Most of them are aliens. I will have to evict you if I find one of them on my property. What if the individual in question is not in the country illegally? Cross that bridge when we get to it. Interested? Sure am. I'd like to go ahead and pay you now and move in tomorrow if that's okay. Give me a week. Reference check, credit check, standard stuff.
Michael's expression goes south like a man who needs a favor.
I have nowhere to stay tonight. I was hoping maybe you could help me out. Rules are rules. There's a shelter up the street if that helps. I will be in touch if everything checks out. After you.
Not the response Michael was hoping for. He'll have to wait for another opportunity to draw in his assignment, Jay. Michael is led out of the living room by Jay. Jay stands on the street corner with his radar gun pointed into oncoming traffic. He beckons an expensive-looking car, "Pull over." The car slows down and pulls over. Jay walks over to the driver's side window. Sitting prim and proper in the driver's seat is a white lady oozing with diamonds and wearing pricey attire. She's Julie, 45. She addresses Jay in a standoffish tone. "I wasn't speeding."
Ma'am, if my radar gun says you were speeding, you were speeding.
He shows her the recorded miles per hour on his radar gun. She gives Jay a certain look. "You can't be serious." "You're going to give me a ticket for going 1 mile over the speed limit?"
Ma'am, I don't make up the rules, I enforce them.
Julie impatiently checks the time on her Rolex, then speaks. "Can we hurry this along? My mother's sick in the hospital. Visiting hours are over in like 40 minutes. Ignoring that, Jay turns his attention to the infant buckled up in a car seat in the passenger seat. He addresses Julie.
Is the car seat up to code?
Julie stares at him in utter disbelief and replies. "You can't be serious."
Go ahead and remove the baby from the car seat for me real quick.
Julie steps outside the vehicle. Enraged, she slams the door behind her, then walks hurriedly to the passenger door, reaches inside, and takes her baby out of the car seat. After which, Jay reaches inside the car, takes out the car seat, and starts scanning for the label from the manufacturer. There it is. Let me guess. You're going to write me a ticket.
Just doing my job, ma'am. Give me a minute.
He makes his way over to the patrol car to go write the ticket, leaving Julie behind shaking her head in vivid disappointment. Your everyday restaurant. A few people are here. Jay, Cheryl, Amanda, and Dustin are seated at a table eating dinner. Cheryl addresses Dustin and Amanda. Fill me in. How's it been so far living together as a couple? Dustin and Amanda look to each other beaming with love. I wouldn't change a thing.
Me neither.
He places his hand on hers as he says this. Cheryl smiles, warmly. Jay grinds his jaw and looks away. A little advice. Spend a lot of time together, especially after you get married. Thanks for the advice, Mrs. Stellar. My folks have already started planning the wedding. I'd be more than happy to help out. Jay stares at Amanda momentarily with this sort of disparaging look on his face. He speaks up.
This whole wedding thing. I'm thinking both of you should maybe think it over. Give it some serious thought. Done deal, Dad.
Jay gives Dustin that firm fatherly look and replies.
Just hold on a second, Dustin. There's a lot to consider here. Like what? For one, children. What about children? Mexico, United States. Where are the kids going to be born?
The truth is, Jay's more concerned about his son marrying a woman of Mexican descent than he is about his future grandchildren. Placing his fork down onto the table, Dustin stares at his father, sensing this. Does it really matter where our kids will be born? Amanda politely asks Jay this. Jay shoots her a firm look, mind your business, then gets back to his son.
How will your mother and I be able to see our grandchildren if, Lord forbid, they're born out in Mexico? We'll work something out. The law's crystal clear regarding undocumented immigrants, Dustin. Why the sudden change, Dad? You were fine with everything until you found out that Amanda.
Taking his future wife's feelings into consideration, Dustin bites his tongue.
There's nothing out in Mexico for you, Dustin.
Dustin turns to see Amanda fighting back tears. He speaks to her in a gentle manner.
We should go.
Please don't go.
And give my racist father the time of day?
Dustin and Amanda rise to their feet.
You're my son, Dustin. I don't want to see you screw up your life. Are you going to hate me for that?
Dustin stares at his father in resentment and answers.
Right about now, Dad, I feel the same way about you, as you feel about Mexicans.
With those final words, Dustin and Amanda depart. Jay takes it on the chin and goes back to eating. Cheryl bites her tongue. She won't win here. She never does. We are at the studio apartment. The doorbell rings. Michael walks to the front door and opens it to reveal Jay standing there. Michael smiles at his presence and speaks.
Hey Jay. Settling in okay? So far so good. Here for the rent. Step in.
Jay does so. Shutting the door, Michael turns to face Jay.
I need a little extra time to come up with the rent this month. Why's that? Lost my job. I will pay you as soon as I get on my feet, you have my word.
With genuine disappointment, Jay fixes his gaze on Michael for a good beat before replying.
Rent's due the first of the month. Knew that when you moved in. All I need is a little time to find a job. You'll get paid. You broke the rental contract, Michael.
From the way that came out, you'd think Michael committed a capital offense. It's time to take his assignment to school.
A man who is starving begs his neighbor for some food. After being turned down for food, he decides to take matters into his own hands and steal a loaf of bread from the local supermarket.
Michael pauses and stares at Jay for his response. Here it is.
Stealing's against the law. So is denying your neighbor when he's in need. Says who? Says God.
Jay snickers. Michael elaborates on his point.
How about the guy who runs a red light to save his daughter's life, or the sick little boy who's refused medical treatment because his parents don't have health insurance?
Jay suggestively raises his eyebrow. Your point. Michael proceeds to make his point.
Love's far greater than the law, Jay.
That went in one of Jay's ears and out the other.
I will be back for my money in 72 hours.
He turns and leaves through the door, leaving a vividly concerned Michael behind. We are inside a variety store. A masked gunman produces a .45 Magnum and points it chest high at the cashier, an Asian female.
Start movin' whore.
Trembling like a Yukon leaf, the cashier opens the register, removes the cash and hands it to the gunman in exchange for a gun butt. Thwack! The cashier hits the floor. Jay and Jezebel walk into the store. The masked gunman ducks into an aisle and hides. Jay and Jezebel move to the counter. After looking around the store for the clerk, Jay looks down and notices that the cashier is unconscious on the ground. He spins around and sees a flash of movement in the aisle. Taking out his gun, he gets low and takes cover. So does Jezebel. Jay hollers after the gunman.
Police. Come out with your hands where I can see them.
The masked gunman bolts for the exit, firing off shots. Jay returns fire.
Hey. Police. Stop.
The masked gunman disappears out the door. Jay pursues him, when suddenly, bang! That's a bullet to the back of Jay's head. He hits the ground. The trigger man, masked gunman number 2. He'd been hiding inside the store the entire time. Pull back to reveal Jezebel pressed tight against masked gunman number 2 with her gun to his head. Drop it! He drops his gun, but then Jezebel whispers the unexpected into his ear. It's not your time. Run! With those words, masked gunman number 2 bolts out of the store. Staring down at Jay's lifeless body, a broad, evil smile creases Jezebel's face. Jay's spirit man materializes inside the king's dome. His gaze shifts to Zoria sitting at the table silently reading the big book. He begins to pick him apart with his eyes. It's a cop thing. Being fully aware that Jay's arrived, Zoria places the big book down onto the table, then looks to him and addresses him with his usual cordial greeting.
Hello, Jay. Grace be to you and peace from God our Father and from the Lord Jesus Christ. I am, Zoria.
Jay begins to take in his surroundings. Meanwhile, Zoria explains to him what this is all about.
Jay, you took a bullet to the head. Your physical body remains on earth as a result. However, your soul and spirit are here. Welcome to the King's Dome. It is my joyful service to answer any questions you may have. Please, have a seat.
Jay walks over to the table, his eyes locked on Zoria the entire time. After Jay's seated, Zoria gets down to business.
I have a message for you, Jay. First, you are required to be still and listen.
Jay quietly watches on as Zoria picks up the big book, flips to a page and begins to read relevant portions of his life history.
Jay Stellar. Your father John was killed in the line of duty after serving 30 years on the police force. You loved your father dearly. He was your hero, taught you how to be a man.
These words bring tears to Jay's eyes. Back to Zoria.
When you found out about your mother's decision to remarry, you became furious and refused to attend the wedding. Your mother's new husband, Juan Martinez, a Mexican American, became enemy number 1. To mention a few, you stole his wallet, cut his tires 3 times, and put sugar in his gas tank. You exerted every effort to turn one's life into a living hell.
Jay thinks it's funny, pressed back in his chair with his arms folded in front of him, laughing under his breath. Zoria carries on.
You've been directly involved with the incarceration and deportation of 216 Mexican nationals. Over the course of your 10-year police career, you have extorted a total of $165,000 from Mexican drug cartels. 88 is the number of times that you've assaulted an individual of Mexican heritage. The laws of the United States of America, according to you, don't apply to illegal aliens, and you are therefore free to treat illegal aliens any way you deem fit.
Zoria has finished reading. He closes the big book, then looks to Jay, who's looking a little amused. He's clearly not taking any of this seriously. He goes to say something. Zoria beats him to the punch.
You've died in your sins, Jay. During your time on earth, you've willfully and intentionally broken the law many times over. Sorry. Exactly what law are you referring to? The righteous teachings of God and the moral standard of living for humans are plainly laid out in the Holy Bible. Legalistic crap. No biggie. You're wrong, Jay. Breaking God's law is a big deal.
Taking in Zoria's dead serious expression, Jay's features now bear the guilt of sin. He becomes defensive and does his best to justify sinful actions of the past.
I hold dear what's important, the Constitution of the United States. I don't smoke or drink, take damn good care of my family, and haven't missed a day of work in 10 long years. I'm the good guy. We could end this argument now if you were God, as I would gladly accept your interpretation of what good is. Since you are not God, I will reply. The scriptures make very clear what God has deemed to be good, which is his just law, which manifests as love. The Bible also explains that God's definition of evil is people who disobey his holy law.
Jay chuckles, then replies.
Here I was thinking you knew everything. You're looking at a born-again Christian, baptized and saved by the blood of Jesus Christ. I live by grace, Mr. Whoever you said you are. The only laws I keep are the laws of the land. You got a problem with that? Take it up with the man upstairs. Like many believers, you've bought into a great lie of the devil, a perversion of the truth, preached in all the earth. Here's the real truth. Men are not justified by the law of God, but are required to keep it, in spirit and truth. You see, Jay, it has never been law versus grace, one over the other. It is my honor and duty to inform you that God's just law and grace work hand in hand. As it pertains to the law, grace can be defined as the power of God working in the lives of believers, empowering them to obey the law of God, and I quote, I will put my spirit inside you and cause you to live by my laws, respect my rulings, and obey them. And now, I will tell you what grace is not. It is not a license to break or abolish the laws, ordinances, or commandments of Almighty God.
Jay rolls his eyes and sighs, then replies.
Jew stuff. Case you haven't noticed, I'm no kike. That was then, a time when you were without Christ, being an alien from the commonwealth of Israel and a stranger from the covenants of promise, having no hope and without God in the world.
J sports eyes of understanding.
What about now? Having been grafted into the commonwealth of believing Israel, Christ has made both one man, a Jew and a Gentile, having broken down the wall of separation through his death. One God, one law for all believers, Jew and Gentile alike.
For illustration purposes, 2 sparkling glasses of grape juice appear on the table in front of J. One glass is halfway full, while the other is completely filled and has a straw inside. J feels a sudden thirst. His mouth starts to move as if it were dry.
Please drink.
J immediately picks up a glass, puts it to his lips, and sips some juice. He then picks up the other glass with his free hand and takes a sip of juice with the straw, before returning both glasses to the table. Smiling, he speaks.
Delicious. Same beverage, case you didn't know. You have spoken the truth. The glasses contain the same juice extracted from the same vine. The vine represents God, while the juice represents the law of God. The half-full glass of juice was given to the Jews through Moses. The full glass of juice was given to Jews and non-Jews alike through Jesus Christ. Christ himself stated that he did not come to abolish the law, but to fill it up. In the full glass of juice, we see God's righteous law exalted, filled to the brim in Jesus Christ. God's law can now flow straight into people's hearts thanks to the straw, which represents the administration of the Holy Spirit and offers a simpler and better system.
Zoria pauses and gives Jay a chance to digest that. Jay's perky-eyed. It seems he's comprehending all that Zoria has said. Zoria continues on his point.
You've come to learn that God's law is one law created for one man, the believing Jew and the believing non-Jew.
In front of Jay, the glasses combine to form a single, full glass of juice with a straw. Zoria continues on his point.
You can be confident that human beings, believers of faith and non-believers of faith alike, who live any way they want, outside of God's just law, in a state of lawlessness, will be judged according to the letter of the law and sentenced to death for all eternity shortly after leaving their earthly bodies. I tell you the truth, Jay. When you died on earth and left your body, hell was your destination. God, in his great love and mercy, rerouted you to the King's Dome to provide you with a second chance at life to love and serve him in accordance with his just law by faith in Jesus Christ. Change doesn't come easy. You are going to require a helper. John baptized with water. There is one who baptizes with Spirit and fire.
Off those words, a flame jumps off the lampstand and goes whump into Jay's body, baptizing him with the Holy Spirit. Then, the dome grows dark. Thunder roars. The dome rumbles violently. Just as suddenly, the dome goes quiet, everything comes to a standstill. All at once, a light beautiful and soft enters into Jay. His face begins to glow with the most beautiful, fluorescent-colored light we've ever seen. As the love of God penetrates his soul, Jesus Christ speaks to him.
The law is holy and its commands are righteous and good. The fullness of the law is love, and this is love, that you walk in obedience to my commands and love one another. Blessed are those who hear the word of God and obey it. Follow me, and I will give you a crown of life. The Lord Jesus Christ has spoken.
A lion's roar rings out. It's over. Jay comes back to the real world. Infused with the pure, infinite, love of God, he sit bent over the table unable to speak, his tongue hanging out. Here are Zoria's final words to Jay.
Your eyes have been opened. The Spirit of truth is with you and will guide you into all things true. A final word of wisdom. Repent and live. In the day you return to this place, you shall surely die.
Off those words, Jay begins to dematerialize. Jay stands in the middle of a dirt road. Wearing a baffled expression, he observes his surroundings. Quick shots. An outpouring of Mexicans bustling up and down the street. A cul-de-sac of run-down houses. Malnourished dogs on every corner. End of quick shots. Jay walks over to a wrinkled frail fellow dressed in rags sitting on the corner merrily plucking away at his guitar. He sings in Spanish. A mutt sits at his feet.
Excuse me, sir.
The man stops playing the guitar and turns his attention to Jay.
Where am I, sir?
The man grins then answers.
El mejor pa del mundo amigo. Mexico. Mexico. That's what he said.
And that is precisely where we are, Mexico. The man goes back to playing his guitar and singing. Jay pivots and faces Michael, who is positioned directly behind him. He begins to study this familiar face, but he can't seem to put the pieces together. Michael extends his hand and introduces himself, a friendly smile upon his face.
Michael Anderson.
They shake hands like old friends. Jay addresses Michael, desperation in his voice and face.
Are you an American? How can I help you?
Jay sighs with relief then speaks.
The American Embassy. I need you to take me there. Follow me.
They walk away together. We are at the American Embassy in Mexico. The embassy worker, 40, a trim, serious-looking woman with reading glasses and a clipboard, walks into the office. She sits down across the desk from Michael and Jay, and then she addresses Jay. You say, you don't remember coming to Mexico?
I know it sounds crazy. Again, my name is Jay Steller. I live at 219 Bonner Street, Los Angeles, California.
She refers to her notes on the clipboard to refresh her memory then speaks. The address and telephone number you provided didn't check out. Furthermore, I ran a search in the American Birth Registry. There is no record of Jay Steller born June 12, 1972. Unfortunately, the only way I can help you, is if you have proof that you were born in the United States.
If I had proof, I wouldn't be here. There has got to be another way that you can confirm my identity.
The embassy worker stares at Jay in a sympathetic kind of way. She thinks he's nuts. She addresses Michael. 808 Quisitalia Street.
"808 Quisitalia? Where is that?" Address of the mental institution.
Hearing that, Jay turns a frown. He addresses the embassy worker, clearly offended.
You think I'm crazy, lady? I'm an American cop. I have a family, a career, a life, damn it.
I'm afraid there's nothing more that I can do.
Take a good look at me. Do I look Mexican to you?
Do I? She doesn't look Mexican, that's for sure. Jay's momentarily at a loss for words. We're done here. The embassy worker rises to her feet. Jay starts to panic.
Wait, please, wait.
Ignoring him, she starts for the door.
Wait. Please hear me out.
As she walks out the door, Jay becomes enraged and yells insults at her.
Stupid spick. I'm an American citizen.
Michael stands up and turns to face Jay.
Good luck with everything.
Jay shoots to his feet, desperation thick in his eyes. Michael's his only hope.
I don't speak a word of Spanish. I have no money. Nowhere to go.
That's exactly what Michael was hoping to hear. He plays it off, making Jay wait as he thinks it over.
There's work, but it won't be easy work. Thank God. Come with me.
Michael heads for the door with Jay in tow. We are at the fruit farm in the center of a massive strawberry harvest field, spanning over 100 acres. Mexican men are everywhere hard at work, bent over, picking strawberries. Sweat streams off their faces, none of them higher than 5'4", with their straight black Indian hair cut across their blank eyes. Michael and Jay stroll about talking.
This is the only farm in all of Guerrero that harvests strawberries and grapes. The laborers you see here are very fortunate to have work. How much do they make? $9. $9 an hour isn't too bad for Mexico. $9 a day.
Jay turns an expression of shock.
It's no secret that low pay is the reason why so many Mexicans head to the States for work. It's the grasshoppers I got a problem with.
With a somewhat irritated expression on his face, Michael stops walking and turns to face Jay.
Grasshoppers. Grasshoppers, aliens, same thing. How would you define an alien? You can't be from the States. Never said I was. Strawberries or grapes? Take your pick. There's no way I'm slaving out here in the jungle. Office work will do just fine. I take care of the office. I will help out. Anything but this. You need to be fluent in Spanish to run the office. I can't work on a farm. Got no experience. I will have one of my men train you. Strawberries or grapes? La fruta del diablo.
Those words, spoken in Spanish by a Mexican laborer off camera, were quite clear and loud.
What did he say? Strawberries are nicknamed La fruta del diablo, the devil's fruit, due to the fact that strawberry pickers must stoop over for 16 hours a day in the intense Mexican sun. The workdays are really harsh, to put it mildly. Even worse is working in sleet or rain, which turns the field into a lake of mud. Grapes for me, I guess. Every crop exacts its own discomfort. Let's find you a place to live.
Michael turns to go.
Hold up a sec.
Michael turns back to Jay.
Between you and I'd much rather live around people who look like me. How much is rent? $300 a month, on time, all the time.
Jay stares at Michael, curiosity in his gaze. He's heard that somewhere before.
$300 a month, wow. Workers here make, what, $9 a day? Is rent negotiable? Course not.
Michael makes a point out of staring at Jay. Right then, something occurs to Jay. He can't seem to make the complete connection, even though he remembers having the same discussion with a tenant in the past. He stares back at Michael with intensity, attempting to solve the puzzle.
We should go.
Michael walks away with Jay following him. We are in an old broken-down one-story house, roughly 500 square feet. A busted-out window, holey walls, and worn-out furniture punctuate the interior. Michael and Jay are seated on the sofa next to each other. Mrs. Gomez, a very pretty girl, couldn't be more than 17 years old, sits in the recliner cradling a newborn baby in her arms. Michael addresses Jay.
A flood carried dead animals and disease through the canals of Guerrero. With no money for medicine, Mr. and Mrs. Gomez had to watch their baby die. As you can see, God blessed them with another child.
Jay stares at Mrs. Gomez in mild admiration. Mr. Gomez, 45, a fat and jolly Mexican man, enters the room smiling from ear to ear. Michael and Jay rise to their feet to greet him.
Bueno a ver, una vez más mi amigo. Iss que me trajo algunos negocios. Ahora soy feliz.
Michael and Mr. Gomez shake hands. After which, Mr. Gomez holds out his hand to Jay, who gives him a fake smile and a nod in response. So rude. The three men take a seat on the sofa. Michael addresses Mr. Gomez.
Junto se carga mi nuevo trabajador para alquilar una habitación? Usted sabe lo mal que es la economía. Tuve que subir mi tarifa de $7 al día.
Michael addresses Jay.
Rent $7 a day. Roughly $200 a month.
Jay never heard that. He's got more important things on his mind right now, like the cockroach smack in the middle of the wall. He then looks to the rat peeking out of a hole in the lower wall. Leaning in, he whispers in Michael's ear.
I can't live here.
Michael leans in and whispers back.
It's the best I can do. No way. It's here or on the street.
Jay does his best to hide the shame, the fear, the anger he feels. This is truly his worst nightmare come true. We are at the fruit farm. Shirtless and drenched in sweat, Jay stands in an unkempt overgrown Eden cutting grapes from a vine. A Mexican man walks over to Jay sporting a friendly smile. Julio, 50, has been a vine picker all of his life, and it shows. His eyes are bloodshot red, his beard is scruffy, and he has a sickly appearance. He addresses Jay.
Everything okay, señor?
Julio's not here in Jay's mind. Gosh. Jay's having an extremely difficult time cutting grapes off the vine, gritting his teeth in frustration. Julio's here to help.
Let me show you an easier way, señor. Cutting grapes off a vine, for Christ's sake. It's not rocket science. I will figure it out. Time is money, señor. Please, let me show you a faster way.
Jay pauses what he's doing, turns, and faces Julio. He stares at Julio with an expression, back off. His tone is forbidding.
You can go now.
Having said that, he turns back to his work. Julio holds his ground and watches on as Jay becomes increasingly frustrated, tugging violently on the vine, mangling heaps of grapes. Julio politely voices his concern.
You are wasting the product, señor. We will lose money because of this. Do me a favor and go back to what you do best, wiping your ass. I am here to help, señor.
Jay loses it. He whips around with a straight right hand and socks Julio straight in the nose. He hits the ground. Jay's looking like a man possessed. He squares off like a boxer and calls Julio on.
Come on, field rat. Come on, let's go.
After wiping the blood from his nose with his palm, Julio stands up and calmly walks away. Bring on the chips and salsa. The rats are having a fiesta. These suckers are the size of cats and they are everywhere. Jay sits in a jail cell on the bench with his head buried in his hands. Michael arrives, finally. Jay practically runs over to the bars, so happy to see him.
Thank God you're here. Tell me I'm getting out today.
Michael stares at Jay, serious as we've seen him.
You assaulted a man. Worst off, the man you assaulted is the brother of a government official who wants to have you executed.
Jay's eyes fill with sick apprehension about his fate. He begins to pace the floor.
When's the bail hearing? There is no bail hearing.
Jay freezes, nails Michael with a surprised look.
You're kidding, right? You're looking at 10 to 15 years, minimum. I'm entitled to a fair hearing. It's how the law works down here. How fair is that? The law's the law.
Off those words, Zoria's face flashes inside Jay's mind, causing him to hyperventilate. Michael stares at him intensely, hoping to God that he's learned something. He proceeds to tell Jay a parable.
Your son constantly disobeys you. Every time he breaks one of your rules, you punish him. One day, you say, "Son, instead of punishing you for disobeying me, I'm going to take you to the ball game."
Jay ponders that. Michael gently explains the parable.
When God sent His only Son Jesus Christ into the world to die for your sins, He gave you something that you didn't deserve. Love, loves even when it's not supposed to. Jay.
Jay stares at Michael, his eyes filled with shame and regret. Michael continues.
I will speak with the authorities and see what I can do about getting you out of here sooner rather than later.
Michael walks away. Jay closes his eyes and lets out a sigh, relieved that he could soon be released from prison. We are at the fruit farm. Jay's hard at work cutting grapes from a vine like a pro. It seems like he's been at this for a while, given he looks several years older and has lost a great deal of weight. A pleasant smile lights up the face of a Mexican girl who walks into frame. She's Santana, 21, the only female vineyard worker. She politely addresses Jay. "Where's your tub, amigo?" Jay wipes the sweat from his forehead, then scans for his tub. It's not here. He sighs wearily before replying.
Must have left it on the other side when I dumped the last load.
Let me go get it for you.
Gracias, Santana.
She leaves to fetch his tub, and he resumes his task of cutting grapes from the vine. A moderate beat later, she returns with Jay's tub. Right then, the sound of a roaring engine can be heard. Here comes the tractor. Santana yells that out in Spanish, warning everyone. The lanes between vines are exactly as wide as the tractor. Jay and Santana must duck underneath the vines to avoid being run over by the tractor, roaring, as it passes by. When the way's clear, they get back to their feet. Jay stares down at his bloody, bruised shins. His voice is so full of frustration.
50 times a day. Hate that stupid tractor.
Santana cracks a smile and speaks. Me, 6 years here. You, 1 year only.
It'll be a cold day in hell before I get used to this kind of work.
I go back to work now, amigo.
Take care, Santana.
She departs. Feeling and looking completely defeated, Jay looks up at the sky and pours his heart out to God.
You got to get me out of here or I will die. You hear me? I will die.
Overcome with emotion, he falls to his knees and starts to cry. Just then, a ray of light appears out of the sky and he stops crying. He looks up into the sky through tear-filled eyes and sees a bright star twinkling down at him. Understanding that God is watching over him, he smiles and begins to cry once more, but this time they are happy tears. We are at the fruit farm inside a tiny one-person office. Michael sits behind the desk going over paperwork. The front door flies open. Jay practically falls into the office, a look of pure exhaustion upon his face. It's been a long, trying day. Michael stands up, approaches Jay, gives him an envelope, and explains what's inside.
Your weekly paycheck.
Jay collapses into the office's lone chair. He then tells Michael how horrible he feels, wincing in agony as he speaks.
Calluses eating up my hands. Bunions the size of boulders on my feet. Stabbing pain all over my body. Goddamn pesticides. Take half a day off and go see the doctor. After expenses, $63 a week is what I have to live off. It's either the doctor or food. Some of the guys go to Acapulco over the weekend to make extra money.
When Jay hears that, something occurs to him. A gleam of optimism appears in his eyes as he perks up.
My son Dustin and his girlfriend were supposed to get married in Acapulco. Michael, I need to know if my son's in Mexico. It's my only chance to get my life back.
Everything's going according to plan. Michael replies.
Guess we're going to Acapulco.
Jay looks to the palms of his hands full of calluses. A grimace, and then a sigh of relief, his hope restored. We are in Acapulco. Jay and Michael stand in the driveway of a beautiful fenced-in white house, roughly 2,500 square feet. Dustin and Amanda live here. Michael addresses Jay.
Good luck.
Jay nods, then walks up the driveway. He presses the doorbell at the front door. After a moderate beat, Amanda opens the door. Jay is overjoyed to see her and can't help but smile.
Amanda.
She stares at Jay blankly.
Amanda, it's me, Jay. Dustin's dad.
One second. She steps out of frame and we hear her yell for Dustin. After a moderate beat, Dustin shows up at the front door. Seeing his son, Jay heaves a sigh of relief, then speaks.
Dustin. Am I ever glad to see you?
Dustin takes a good hard look at Jay. Nothing registers. The only thing painfully obvious here is Jay's torn up, rumpled attire. He could pass for a homeless person. Dustin turns and addresses Amanda standing behind him.
Spare change is inside the red jar on the kitchen table.
She walks away to go get the coins. With pity in his eyes, Dustin turns back to face Jay and gently addresses him.
We all need a helping hand in life. Where you from, buddy?
Jay adopts a look of complete surprise.
Dustin, it's me, your father. Your mother's name is Cheryl. We have a home in the States. I work for the police department.
Dustin just stares at him, blankly. Michael watches on from the driveway, quietly waiting for this to end. Amanda's back. She extends her hand to Jay with the coins and speaks. It's not much. Jay flushes, visibly frustrated, his voice slightly raised.
Son. I know we had our differences in the States. Get over it. I need my life back. At least get in touch with your mother for me. Give me that much. My parents are dead. Get the hell off my property.
He slams the door in Jay's face. Desperate for Dustin's help, Jay angrily pounds the door, shouting.
Dustin. Open this door at once or I will bust it down.
The door flies open and crack. Dustin nails Jay's jaw. Jay staggers back, almost falls, his mouth bloodied. Dustin stares at him with an expression, I will kill you. He then slams the door shut. Jay loses all self-control and starts crying. Michael walks over and gently addresses him.
All men want is to be free.
Jay follows Michael's gaze into the horizon. In the distance we see an urban wasteland, the gateway to freedom, dividing two countries. A 14-foot-tall fence made of heavy metal double mesh which stretches like the spine of an infinite snake across the land, up and down hills, in and out of valleys. What we are seeing is the US/Mexico border. As Jay stares out into the horizon, he has a revelation. Mexico. The suffering. The substandard way of life. He wouldn't wish this on his worst enemy. Knowing that his time with Jay ends here, Michael stares at him in silence, hoping to God that he's learned as much as he's suffered on the journey. He hits Jay with a few final words of wisdom.
For a very long time, the devil has been exploiting you to cause suffering for your neighbors. God loves you so much, Jay. This day, God has shown you mercy without measure. It's your turn to show mercy.
As Jay drifts off thinking about Michael's powerful words, he's slammed back into his life in America. Like someone who has just escaped a horrifying dream, he springs up in bed panting and disoriented. His wife is sound asleep next to him when he looks at her. He lets out a sigh and shuts his eyes, feeling grateful that whatever it is that he went through is finally over. Jay's behind the wheel of the patrol car, cruising along the main road. Jezebel seated in the passenger seat. When the person driving the Ford 150 in front of them throws a piece of tissue out the window, Jezebel immediately takes notice and comments on it. Litter bug up ahead.
Everyone litters, including you.
Hardly the reaction Jezebel expected. She looks to Jay and replies. Coming from a man who exercises every letter of the law. Jay's quiet. He can see now. Jezebel becomes adamant, frustration in her voice. Pull the pig dog over already. Jay doesn't flinch or even speak. Jezebel stares at him. Earth to Jay. We're cops, remember? In an attempt to put this nagging woman behind him, Jay hits the siren. After which, the Ford 150 pulls over. Jay stops the patrol car behind the Ford 150. Jay and Jezebel proceed to exit the patrol car. Jay and Jezebel walk over to the Ford 150 driver's side window. A bald fellow is seated behind the wheel puffing on a cigarette. He's Sam, 50. He addresses Jay.
The reason you pulled me over? Littering.
That makes Sam laugh. Jay flushes. Noticing that Jay's feeling a little foolish over the whole thing, Jezebel speaks up and sternly addresses the driver. Littering's against the law, sir.
Who gets pulled over for it though?
Sam starts to laugh again. Jezebel addresses Jay. You gonna write him up, or should I? Sam speaks up.
Come on, officer. I just lost my job. Cut me a break.
Michael's voice begins to play inside Jay's inner consciousness as a reminder.
It's your turn to show mercy.
It works. Jay's eyes ripen with mercy. He addresses Sam.
Consider this a warning. You're free to go. I really appreciate that, officer.
Sam sparks up his Ford 150, drives away. Jezebel addresses Jay in vivid disappointment. Jay, he broke the law. Ignoring her, Jay heads back to the patrol car and Jezebel follows. As they head towards the patrol car, she shoots him a sidelong glance and almost says something, but she changes her mind. God obviously reached Jay. She must devise a strategy to lure him in. We are at the police station inside Jay's office. Jay sits at his desk writing up a report. On television, a reporter stands in front of a burned-down house.
The house behind me was burned to the ground, leaving an impoverished family homeless.
Jay looks up from his work, tunes in. Standing next to the reporter is Estella, 19, a short, plump Mexicana, visibly shaken and holding a small child in her arms. Her accent is a hardcore Mexican one.
Can you tell us what happened?
I've been renting this house going on 7 years now. Sometimes the lights would flick off and on by themselves. I told the landlord, but he didn't fix it.
There was an existing electrical problem inside the house that started the fire, is that what you're saying?
I don't know for sure. I'm just happy the fire didn't happen when me and my baby were inside. She becomes emotional and begins to cry. I lose everything, amigo. Everything is gone.
You've lost all of your belongings.
See. Everything is gone. My baby stuff and everything.
Do you have family that can help?
I can stay with my brother Pedro, but there are 8 people living with him already. I don't know what I'm gonna do. She looks into the camera and addresses the viewing audience, tears streaming down her face. Anyone out there can help me and my baby, please help us. Jay's concerned eyes are locked on the TV screen. It is as though Estella's speaking directly to him. Estella's family lives here. It's not much. At least they have some furnishings. 2 young mothers standing in the corridor with babies on their hips are catching up on the latest he said she said. A schoolgirl sits on the sofa doing homework. An old man dozes off in the recliner. Several kids dash in and out of the living room playing tag. Let's meet the rest of the family inside the kitchen. Meet Estella's brother Pedro, 25, a tough-looking dark-skinned Mexican with expressionless eyes and a buzz cut, sleeved with prison tattoos. Joining him around the table is his segunda familia, his gang-banging homies, 3 of them in total, wearing the same colored bandana. The group of men are playing cards and drinking 40s. Estella stands over the stove stirring a pot, her infant baby nestled in one arm. The doorbell rings. Pedro addresses Estella.
Door knockin' mama.
Estella puts the utensil down, starts for the door. Estella opens the front door. It's Jay. He gives Estella his best smile and speaks.
Estella.
Sensing good news, Estella smiles back. See?
My name's Jay Steller. I got your information from the news station.
This can only mean one thing. Overcome with joy, Estella brings her hand up over her heart. See? Thank you. Thank you very much. Pedro walks up to Estella's back. Jay's gaze shifts to him. Pedro begins to pick Jay apart with his eyes. White guy, clean cut, clean shaven. Jay could be a cop even though he's in plain clothes. Pedro whispers something into Estella's ear, an eye locked on Jay. She excitedly blurts out her reply. God has sent this man to help me. Alabado C. El Señor. When Pedro hears that, he relaxes and gives Jay a small smile. Please, come in, Jay. God bless you for coming. She widens the door. Jay steps into the house. We are at a crime scene. Police barricades have been set up, forensic technicians and photographers are doing their work, and cops are holding back a restive crowd of gawkers. We turn our attention to Jay and Jezebel standing over the dead body of a Hispanic male on the lawn, blood spattered and shot up. Another spick bites the dust. She waits for Jay to respond. He doesn't, only stares sensitively at the blood-soaked mass of human flesh in front of him. The young man had a life, a purpose, a mother, a father, maybe even kids of his own. We see nothing but compassion in Jay's eyes. A gray-haired man pushing retirement age, wearing an overcoat, puffing on a cigarette, walks up to Jay and Jezebel. He's Detective Marks, 64.
What we got?
Jay looks to him and answers.
Drive-by shooting. Gang-related, you think? That's your job, Charlie. We'll be on our way.
Jay and Jezebel navigate past the throng and head for the patrol car. How's the girl doing? I'm terrible with names.
Estella.
How's she settling in?
She's coming along.
Nice of you to help her out and all, but don't you think she should be paying rent?
She doesn't work.
She must receive some kind of income. Welfare, disability.
I'm not worried about it.
You should be worried about it. Without a rental agreement, she'll probably trash the place. They always do.
Can't blame a guy for trying to be a good citizen.
Rules make good citizens. Somehow, you've forgotten that. They reach the patrol car and enter in. They cruise in silence. Jezebel looks worried. Jay's not biting. She'll have to dig deeper. Without a rental contract, anything can happen. I wouldn't be on your back if I didn't care. Jezebel watches Jay closely for his reaction. He gives her nothing back. She continues to dig. I will never forget how happy you were when you purchased your first investment property, not to mention you busted your rear fixing it up. Jay cracks a smile, remembering. Jezebel continues. A rental agreement really is that important, Jay? You've been busy lately pulling doubles. I wouldn't mind taking care of the contract for you. Brush up on my typing. It's a nice gesture on Jezebel's part. He folds after absorbing her warm smile.
Go easy on her. She lost everything. Estella doesn't know that I'm a cop. I'd like to keep it that way.
Jezebel smirks to herself. Showtime. Jezebel waits outside the door of the studio apartment, pushes the buzzer again. Estella opens the door in jean shorts, barefoot and casual. Jezebel politely addresses her. You must be Estella. See? I'm Jay's friend Jezebel. Estella smiles warmly and replies. Welcome to my home. Thank you. Jay got tied up at the office. He asked me to swing by and give you this. She hands Estella a stash of papers, then tells her what it is. Rental agreement, typed in Spanish. Go over it. Let me know if you have any questions. Estella schemes over the rental agreement, then speaks. Excuse me, but this says I have to pay $750 per month. That would be correct. Estella stares at Jezebel momentarily, her heart pounding. I think this is a mistake because Jay said I can live here for free. Jezebel spits a laugh, then replies. Nothing is free in this world, Estella. But I only receive $800 per month from the state. Consider yourself lucky. A place like this can go for $1,100–1,200 a month easy. Jay's doing you a huge favor by only charging you $750 per month. Mi amiga, please try and understand. $750 is too much. If it's okay, I will ask Jay myself to lower the rent. Jezebel's got a look on her face like the bitch from hell. Her tone is forbidding. Word on the street is your brother Pedro's been naughty. Extortion, burglary, drugs. Sound familiar? What does that have to do with me and my baby? I'm getting there. Jay offered you a place to stay for one reason, Pedro. Jay's plan was to befriend and use you to gather as much evidence as possible on your brother before we bust him. Estella's quiet. She's not so sure what to think or believe. Jezebel pulls out a photograph of herself and Jay in full uniform and shows it to her. In that moment, Estella becomes emotional and her eyes well up with tears. Jezebel continues her tirade of lies. Jay has given me full control over his rental property. If you mention one word of this to him, you're out of here. Estella winces and brings her hand up over her heart like she's about to have a heart attack. When I have to pay? First and last month's rent is due immediately. Estella starts pleading, even begging with Jezebel. Please, give me some time. I won't get my check for another 2 weeks. Please, try to understand. The world doesn't revolve around you, Estella. I will be back in 48 hours for the rent. Jezebel departs, leaving a visibly distraught Estella behind. We are at the police station inside Jay's office. Jay's seated behind the desk immersed in the Holy Bible. Jezebel enters the office and walks over to the desk. Her gaze immediately falls on the Holy Bible. Jay looks to her and speaks.
Take care of that thing for me over the weekend?
Jezebel does a poor job of concealing the threat she feels, as she stands there staring at the Holy Bible, wide-eyed.
You don't look so good, Jezebel. What's on your mind?
He places the Bible down onto the table and diverts his attention to her. Jezebel takes a seat on the corner of the desk and speaks. We got a problem. Jay shifts uneasy in his chair and replies.
What kind of problem?
Estella up and left.
Why would Estella up and leave?
Come on, Jay. What was I supposed to do, put a gun to her head and make her stay? Jay rubs his eyes and forehead. The more he thinks about this, the more painful it is.
What were the conditions of the rental agreement?
Do yourself a favor. Find yourself a real tenant. Jay gives Jezebel a firm look and repeats his question.
What were the conditions of the rental agreement?
A few $100 monthly plus utilities. Jay looks like he's about to explode because he is. His voice is raised.
Damn it, Jezebel. Estella's in no position to pay that kind of money. I asked you to go easy on her.
Jezebel shrugs, makes nothing of it. Jay gets up and rushes out of the office to go straighten everything out with Estella. Meanwhile, Jezebel turns her attention to the Holy Bible laying on the desk. Right then, the Bible opens supernaturally on its own and the book of Revelation is revealed, terrifying Jezebel beyond comprehension. In an instant, she's on her feet and out of the office. In plain clothes, Jay stands on the porch of Pedro's house. He rings the doorbell. Pedro opens the door. At the sight of Jay, Pedro puffs up, fists clenched, ready to make Jay eat his own teeth. He steps out of the house and confronts Jay man to man. This is personal.
You kicked my sister out, essay. It's not as it seems, Pedro. Where's Estella? My sister had a heart condition. When you threw her out, she...
Becoming emotional, he pauses. Unable to contain his emotions, he removes a handgun from his waist, points it at Jay, and that's when tears begin to stream down Pedro's face. Jay puts both of his hands up in a composed manner and speaks.
We can work this out, you and me. Put the gun down, Pedro. My sister died of heart failure last night. You owe me, essay.
He cocks back the gun hammer, and, thwack. Jay's fist flies straight out with blinding speed and pops Pedro in the nose, staggering him back. Jay bolts for cover. Pedro pursues him. Pedro chases Jay down a residential street, firing off shots, trying to kill him. Everyone must be at work or school because nobody else is here. Jay dives behind a parked car, whips out his gun, fires a shot into the air. He then tosses his badge in the street so Pedro can see it.
Police. It's over, Pedro.
Pedro's crouched behind a car, gun in hand. He hollers to Jay after taking a quick glance around the car and noticing the badge lying in the street.
I ain't going back to prison, essay.
Jay hollers back.
You have my word, no jail time. Let me see your hands.
Instead, Pedro opens fire. Jay fires back. Back and forth they go with each man utilizing the vehicle they're hiding behind as cover in between shots. Jay sneaks across the street to where Pedro is by using a passing van as a screen. Pedro doesn't realize that Jay is now less than 20 feet away from him, crouched behind a vehicle with a clean shot to the back of his head. Jay raises his gun and takes aim. Right then, the voice of Jesus Christ begins to play inside Jay's inner consciousness as a reminder.
The fullness of the law is love, and this is love, that you walk in obedience to my commands and love one another.
Jay's trigger finger starts to tremble, a fierce battle between good and evil raging inside his soul. Clenching his teeth, he fights from the bottom of his being to resist the overwhelming want to blow Pedro's brains out. Jay cries out, before flinging the gun away. When Pedro turns his head in the direction of Jay's voice, he finds him sitting on the ground with his back up against the vehicle, unarmed in vivid grief. Pedro gets up and calmly walks over to him. Standing over Jay, he speaks.
Should have killed me when you had the chance, gringo.
With a defeated expression on his face, Jay only looks up at him as Pedro raises his gun and aims it at him.
My sister's dead. It's your turn.
He cocks back the gun hammer. Just then, God shows up in Jay's defense. The gun is taken from Pedro's grasp by a bolt of lightning that bursts from the sky, and then the gun transforms into a snake, hissing loudly when it hits the cement. Pedro flees, terrified at the sight of this. The snake vanishes. It's over. With a sigh, Jay glances up to find Bright Star twinkling at him. Jay understands. He gives Bright Star a smile and thumbs up. Jezebel stares at Jay in vivid shock as he enters the police station in plain clothes. She knew full well that Estella had a heart condition and that being evicted would more likely than not have negative health effects on her. She also knew that Jay would go looking for Estella and that Pedro was packing a gun and would probably kill Jay for the loss of his sister. All went according to plan, with the exception of the grand finale, Jay's execution. Jezebel approaches Jay while masking her dismay that he is still alive. She addresses him in a friendly tone. Why aren't you dressed for work? Jay has a look in his eyes that says he will never be the same.
My work's done here, Jezebel. I'm resigning.
She's struck silent. That is the last thing she was expecting to hear. He continues.
I live according to a much higher law now. A law the world has given up on. A law that personifies love.
She has got to find a way to change Jay's mind. Staring seductively into his eyes, she speaks, her voice as soft as inviting. Feels like we've been partners forever. I can't fathom the thought of losing you. Tell me what you want from me. Jay makes her wait thinking it over, and then he speaks.
Know what you can do for me?
She smiles thinking this one's in the bag. Here's Jay.
Usted puede salir de mi camino.
Jay looks shocked that he spoke in Spanish. One thing's for sure, Jezebel's not smiling anymore. Jay walks away with his chin held high.
Galatians 5 verse 14. The entire law is fulfilled in this one statement: love your neighbor as yourself.